Right, I think we're live. Hello all and welcome to today's IGB webinar, Getting Your Traffic's Worth. In this session, we're going to be focusing on the deals and the kind of dynamic aspects that happen between operators and affiliates, attempting to bring some clarity into the various aspects that go towards creating a mutually beneficial, successful commercial deal between the two entities. Before we get started though, I'd like to do some housekeeping. Please note this is a fully interactive session, so if you have any questions, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, please don't hesitate to put some questions and submit them, and if we get time at the end, we'll try our best to make sure that we can get through as many of them as possible. We'd like to take this opportunity actually also to thank our sponsors for today, thank them for their support and our the ability to kind of push this session out to you guys. And before we dive straight into the conversation, I'd like to give my panel an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Sue, would you like to go first?
Hi there, so I'm Sue Dawson. I'm Head of Content at FTD Digital. We specialise in the UK bingo and slots market, and our top product is the award-winning bingo portal, Best New Bingo Sites.
And Sarafina?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarafina Wolde Gabriel, and I'm the Vice President of Strategy at Income Access. We've specialized in affiliate marketing since 2002, specifically for the gaming and more recently lottery and Forex industries. We've lived and breathed affiliate marketing for a long time, so it's a delight to come here and have a chat about what we do every day.
Brilliant, thank you. So I suppose the first question that I'd like to start with is, just basically starting at the beginning. What would you guys say are, the most common circumstances in which you find and see commercial term requests to be deemed untenable? Just go back to who, any of you want to take this one first?
Sure, I'll happily start. I mean, we always have a saying. We say affiliate programs don't fail. It's the models that are not done well if an affiliate program is struggling. So, the basic place to start with any affiliate program is, first of all, you have to know your margins. You have to know your player values, because if you don't know what they are, then it's very difficult to strike a win-win model that's going to work for both your affiliates and yourselves. I mean, it used to be in the old days, you'd see people, offering 70%, 80% revenue share. And we all know you can't survive on a model like that. So you need to really understand what your values are, what your costs are, and then find a model that's going to work for both yourself and the affiliates, because ultimately the affiliates have traffic and they want to send it somewhere that's going to appreciate it, retain it, and maintain it, and also just continue to help them grow the business. So that's really where I would say the starting place should be.
Agree with that?
Yes, it's requests for exposure that we know isn't going to work. That's what doesn't work for us. When a deal is made dependent on, will you give us first position on this page? And we know that the traffic to that page is not the right traffic for that operator.
Okay, so then, I mean, in regards to, knowing what is right for that operator or for that particular situation, when it comes to either CPA or fixed fee deals, what would you say are the best circumstances to create either one of those models in a commercial contract, in a commercial deal? Sue, we'll go back to you. What would you say?
So with CPA, the easiest is when we've already got a relationship with that operator and they want to launch a new site, because then they know what the player value is likely to be, we know what the player value is likely to be, and there isn't this conflict. When we're working with a new operator, we will still usually have a good idea of what their player value is likely to be from looking at similar sites that we've worked with in the past. But it's really getting the operator to understand that. And we find that any request for premium positioning with a special deal, it's best to have an offer that's exclusive to us, because that allows us to give the operator real prominence.
Okay, brilliant. Sarafina, I mean, what would you like to add anything to that in regards to, you know, the best circumstances for CPA or fixed fee deals?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Sue said. I think knowing what your values are, so the value of your traffic as an affiliate, and also the value of what that operator or that, you know, brand is worth, and also the marketplace in which you're working in. So if you know that on average, you know, a UK player is worth X amount of CPA, then you know you go and command that CPA value because you're benchmarking like for like. Obviously, with fixed fees, the same thing, because as an affiliate, you know the value of your traffic, and it's easier. Fixed fees are also something that some operators like and others don't like it at all. Those that have a long-term established relationship with the affiliate, like Sue mentioned, are more comfortable with it because they know what they're getting, and it's not exposing them to a high risk element. But those who are brand new, either way, like Sue said, whether the affiliate does not know the operator or vice versa, then they tend to typically will offer you the fixed fee or the CPA, but with some caveats around it, and there'll be, you know, some criterias around what will trigger that amount, like a minimum guarantee. You know, I'll give you X amount, but you need to supply, you know, or refer X amount of players at a bare minimum. So there are ways to structure it rather than just turn it down as an opportunity, because also sometimes if you don't try, you don't know. So it's just about making sure you have the correct structure in place with those schemes.
Okay, brilliant. And you know, I think you guys both mentioned about, you know, the significance of the difference when you're actually a new affiliate. And of course, you know, there's, for both sides, is still, you know, it's still unknown territory. You guys, you know, they haven't worked with each other before. And I just wonder, from you guys' experience, do you think there is enough transparency between the operator and the affiliate? I'll go back to you on that one, Sarafina. What do you think in regards to that aspect?
That's a very good question. I would tend to say, you know, in my experience, the affiliates that are more transparent with their traffic and their value, their, you know, what they bring to the table, tend to have a more stronger relationship with an operator. So it's well and good for me to say, hey, I have, you know, X amount of traffic every month on my site. You can check it out. There are tools out there to see it. But it's another thing for me to say, I do very well in this marketplace with this product. I would like to try and work with you. And so you're very clear on the side of the affiliate what you're bringing to the table. Vice versa, on the operator side, it's, you know, it's hard. A lot of them don't share that kind of information because it's, you know, you don't want to give away your selling points. But it's good if you have some level of transparency with what your program does and what works really well, because then you will, you know, the affiliate A will appreciate it, and B, they're going to see it anyway. They're going to test it. They're going to either sign up on their own and see what the experience is like, or they're going to market you, promote you, and see how you know, how their players, whether they like the product or not. So it's always good to be, you know, more proactive rather than let them do all the digging themselves, in my opinion.
For sure. And Sue, what would be your kind of perspective? Would you agree with what Sarafina mentioned?
I'm all for more transparency.
Okay.
The more transparency there is, the better you can work together. So, for example, over acquisition offers, what acquisition offer is going to work best? So I've had the same conversation with quite a few operators now, whether to put a £5 acquisition offer on. And if with a £5 offer, you will get a lot of players, but they won't be anything like as valuable as the £10 or £20 acquisition offer players. So it's really helpful to be able to have that discussion with the operator, frankly, so that you can decide together which you're going to go for, and they're not going to have unrealistic expectations.
Fantastic. And because, you know, you guys mentioned, I think, and especially you as well, Sarafina, you mentioned in regards to, you know, there's certain things that not all operators are going to want to share. But of course, there are some easy to do, you know, actions that you can kind of have access to certain information. And I just wonder, you know, so what would you say are some of the common communication pitfalls between the two, and how can they be avoided?
You're going to make me have a lot of enemies here, Curtis. Well, I mean, you know, communication pitfall starts with being more open. It's like Sue said, if you're openly, as an affiliate, you openly say what you can bring to the table, and then the operator says, all right, I'm happy to try with what you're offering. Then it's clear. You're going to log into your account. You're going to see your reports. Everything is transparent. But if you have a program where they're hiding data from you and you can't really measure quality, you can't really measure convert, you can't see, then that diminishes. So the communication starts to become a little bit more closed, and you don't have as open, frequent dialogue. It's really important that the affiliates are seen as an extension of that, an operator's marketing arm. You know, you would share this information with your data. I'm not saying share everything, but there is a level of transparency that you can give to allow the affiliate to conduct their business more successfully than, you know, making it a guessing game. Because ultimately, if it becomes a guessing game, then, you know, affiliates don't just sign up to one program, right? They sign up to hundreds of programs. And so you'll quickly fall off the pecking order if they don't feel that there is an open relationship and communication with each other. So things like, you know, there's the basic stuff like making sure you're answering their questions, you're responding to their communications, however channel, whatever means they get in touch with. But then there's the element of letting them know what works for your program, why your brand should be successful, and why they should be marketing that brand.
Fantastic. And Sue, what would be your thoughts on, you know, some of the most common communication pitfalls that you've seen?
Well, there's the one where we're contacted by someone who wants us to promote their site and they haven't done any research. So either we're promoting them already and they haven't noticed, or they haven't talked to the person who's responsible for that, or it's a vertical that we just don't do, or it's a different geo. So that's you know, don't do that. And then there's when operators make major changes, they change their offer, they move their bingo software to a different platform, they take the landing page away and don't tell us, they change their terms and conditions, don't tell us. 3 months later, we get a nasty gram about compliance. You know, all of this is just absolutely basic communication. And if you don't do that, it's so much harder to work with.
Of course. And, you know, I mean, so for the affiliates that are watching this today, I think, you know, it's really insightful for them to kind of have a better understanding into, you know, how an operator really comes to a decision when making a commercial deal, and what are the top 3 considerations, or maybe there's more than 3 or less, but what would you guys say are the top considerations an operator, from the strictly the operator point of view, has to make before, you know, agreeing a commercial deal? Sarafina?
Sure. Top 3. I mean, I think number 1 comes down to budget. You need to know what your budget is. You also need to understand affiliate marketing is a long-term game. It's not something that you do short-term. So whatever budget you've got set aside for your commissions or for your launch, you need to stretch it to at least last you a good 12 months. Because if you try to just budget for 3 months and you don't hit it, then, and it's not a profitable program, you're going to struggle. So the first thing is budget, understand. Second thing is understand the product. Is the product something that's going, like, you know, if we look at bingo, for example, and Sue, you know, feel free to correct me. Bingo, you've got a lot of loyal players in bingo. They're not as fickle as a sports betting customer who likes to hop around from one site to another. So with bingo, it's all about the community. It's all about the, you know, that feel for there's a lot of loyalty. Friends get together and have a game together. So there is the element of longevity, and maybe the revenue share model might be more worthwhile than a CPA or a fixed model, because it's an ongoing thing. And you know, as an affiliate, you're going to get your money's worth if something is a continually going forward. Now, sports, on the other hand, is different. So once you know your budget, the next thing is you need to know the product. And then the third thing I would say is know your values, know your player values, so you know what is sustainable and what's not sustainable to offer as a commission model. Those would be my top three.
Okay, and Sue, what about you? And again, I know I said three, but it can be more or less depending on what you think.
KYC, trust, and industry reputation, because somebody that you haven't worked with before, other people may have worked with them. So there are all kinds of places you can ask around. Affiliate Guard Dog, GPWA, many other forums. Is this person someone that I want as a long-term partner? Okay. So that's one thing. Where is the traffic coming from, and what impact is that going to have on player value? Is this affiliate doing lots of incentivized traffic? Are they doing a lot of stuff on social media, which tends to be lower value? Are they targeting no deposit keywords, free keywords, any of those things which are going to depress player value? Or are they going for high quality keywords, either with PPC or SEO? So that's going to have a huge, you may know what your normal player value is, but if you get a whole influx of players who've been incentivized with a £5 voucher for something, you're going to get a nasty surprise.
Okay.
And cash flow. So with a hybrid or a CPA, you've got to pay for the player up front. So it's going to take some time for you to see that value. And you actually have to be careful not to become a victim of your own success. So if you do a deal with someone and they send you a very large number of players, are you going to be able to front the money to pay them and then wait for the player value to develop? And we've actually had people say to us, please don't send us any more players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Would those be your top considerations?
My top considerations for operators, yes, but obviously this is very much from an affiliate perspective.
Yeah, and that was going to bring me on to my next point, because we've spoken about a few things, especially from the affiliate point of view, in regards to doing more research and again just having more clarity on a brand's kind of outlook and strategy. What other useful tips? And I think the key word with this is practical tips, because there's a lot of things that people can do, but in terms of real doable actionable tips that affiliates can use before embarking on a new commercial deal with an operator, what would you say? What kind of tips could you give, Sarafina?
So I would probably say, understand what your cost of advertising is. Obviously, to begin with, you need to know how much it's going to cost you to get traffic and then send that traffic. And what channels are you using? So sort of what Sue touched on, is it social media, and what's the cost there? Is it, PPC? There's some upfront costs as well. So once the affiliate knows that, then the next thing is to know what is the benchmark. Like, you need to benchmark and find out, do some research and find out, how much what values are certain verticals worth. And then you can pretty much work out whether that's a commercial deal that you want to structure on a long term with a rev share or a hybrid model. You can't just go and command fixed fee requests if you don't have the traffic to back it up. So you have to be able to negotiate according to what your capability is. Now, if you're going to build a business as an affiliate, think long term. I always say that's the magic word. It's don't think for tomorrow. It's not about getting the quick hit and seeing who's going to offer you the biggest money today, because that's not going to help you build a long-term sustainable program. So that would be my advice is, know your cost, know your advertising and your marketing cost, and then know how to structure the deal.
Fantastic. And Sue, what about you? What kind of tips or practical, ideas could you suggest for affiliates before they consider embarking on a new deal?
A couple of just very basic practical tips. Use an email address that's going to stay the same for the affiliate program. So if you've got any employees, don't use an employee's email address. Set up something like we have casino affiliate at ftddigital.com. So then if you hire or fire someone or something happens, you're still going to get all the important messages about changes and actions that need to be taken place, and also get the deal in writing, at the very least via an email, preferably by some kind of signed document. Things that get agreed over Skype and verbally can often just get lost, or there can be confusion later about what hasn't been agreed. So those are just very basic practical tips. And the other thing is to look quite carefully at the deal itself. So things like, is there a trigger? Is there a trigger that's bigger than the minimum deposit, so that if you send a player who deposits once and then doesn't deposit again, will you get paid anything at all for them? There's bundling. So bundling is where an operator has multiple sites and you're promoting them all, but any negative from one of them will get offset against the positive income from others. So if that's the case, you might want to think, is there a site here that's a dud that we don't want? There's thresholds for payments. So some affiliate programs won't pay out until you've accrued £500 is a typical figure. So is this the right fit? Are we actually going to make £500 out of this operator? Or is it just the wrong fit and it's not worth bothering with? There's not paying CPAs for players who have an account at one of their other brands. Not so much of a problem with new brands, but a big problem with some established saturated brands. There's payment terms, obviously. Deals which are dependent on sending a certain amount of traffic per month, certain number of FTDs, which may be beyond the affiliate's control, if the operator does something like change their acquisition offer to something terrible. Sorry, just checking my notes. Negative rev share. Will negative rev share in a hybrid deal be offset against the CPA portion of it or not? Because that can actually wipe out the CPA portion. And what will happen if someone gets a big win and there's negative carryover? Will that big player be ring fenced, or will it just wipe out everything for months and months and months? So that's just a list of some things that occurred to me that you need to.
Sue, thank you so much, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys in the audience who found that really useful. Thank you so much for that, Sue. I'd just like to take this opportunity to just remind everybody watching that, again, this is an interactive session, so if you have any questions for our panel, please don't hesitate to submit them, and we do still have some time to ask some. One question that I have, just from listening, and this one's directed at you, Sue, and maybe you've got some thoughts on this as well, Sarafina. But you mentioned that traffic that comes from social media channels is not very preferential, is usually quite low value. I mean, are there any? I mean, in the digital age that we're living in, and I know especially in certain regions like Africa as well, social media is used quite a lot. So I just wondered, are there any circumstances in which an operator would really want social media traffic, or does it just depend on which operator it is and which channels are the most preferred for receiving traffic? There's a couple there in one, but yeah, what are your thoughts, Sue?
Well, of course, it may be very different in sports with social media, where you're talking about specific sports events. But really with bingo, social media is not very successful because the intent just isn't there. Most people who want to talk about bingo on social media are talking more about the social type bingo games, bingo blitz and things like that. And they're really not very interested in real money bingo, or if they try it, they don't spend very much money. But it could be quite different for different verticals. And I think with casino, it's probably the streamers where the value might lie, not just general social media posts. And of course, you have to be so careful about social media these days anyway.
Of course. And Sarafina, would you agree? I mean, is it just, depends on the vertical? Of course, for bingo, it's not ideal.
Yes, I agree. I think it's both vertical and geolocation, country as well. So, like you said, with Africa, like if you look at Nigeria, if you look at Kenya, it's predominantly, social. The players come from social channels. Latin America, same thing as well. You've got a lot of activity on the social media, but again, it's all very sports. It's a sports product, so sports vertical. So it's quite heavily focused on that. So yeah, it really depends on both vertical and country.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we still actually haven't had any questions come through. But guys, if you guys are watching, please, don't hesitate. I'm sure you'll be able to get in contact with Sue or Sarafina. I'm sure you can find them on LinkedIn also. And, so please don't hesitate to get in contact with those guys when you're offline. But that does bring us to the end of our conversation today. So Sue and Sarafina, thank you so much for your time. It's been really insightful, some real practical insights there. So hopefully, our audience can make some use of that. And to everybody watching, please be aware, that if you want to listen back to this webinar or share it with your colleagues, it is available on demand, and you can access that from igamingbusiness.com. So yes, I'm Curtis Roach from Clarion Gaming, and we've had a great time today. Thank you so much, and we will see you all very soon on our next IGB webinar. Cheers.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Sue.
Cheers.
Ciao.